Good morning, Bernadette Beach here from Indigo Medical Consulting Services, and thank you for joining me today. The topic I wanted to talk about today was to do with personal branding, and two areas I wanted to focus on was personal branding for yourself as an individual and in the marketplace looking for a career change or a job, and the second one is personal branding within a company, so complementing the employer brand. Now, in my 20 years of recruitment and HR experience, I've obviously interviewed a lot of people and searched for a lot of candidates, and that's where I've come across people that are either not confident in themselves, not really entirely sure where they want to go, or haven't or don't know how to market themselves correctly, or on the other hand are applying for jobs but don't necessarily think or believe that company or product is right for them. Years ago, when I worked at McDonald's head office, when I first went for interviews before I joined the marketing department there, when I did join the company, the VP had told me some stories about interviews that he had conducted. And one of the questions that they asked is, what do you like about McDonald's food? And the reply from the lady was, oh my gosh, I don't eat takeaway, I don't eat fast food. Beep. So obviously that person didn't get looked at. So one of the first things I think is when you are looking for jobs is to make sure that the company and product is what you're passionate about or what you feel a part of or you could represent in a good way. So I think that from a personal branding and then complementing that back to an employer brand, it's really important that the person that's in your team or the individual, that their values and their motivations are exactly what the company is looking for and complements the company. So as an individual, personal branding, when you're looking for a job, the first thing, as we're all here on LinkedIn, how are you marketing yourself? First of all, that photo is extremely important. I've come across quite a lot of LinkedIn profiles that don't have a photo, or their personality is not reflected within their LinkedIn profile. It's really important to show prospective employers who you are, what your values are all about, what your career plan is, what you're looking for, what you're good at. That's really important. It's the first basis to market yourself. So you really need to spend a bit of time on your profile. Before even going through that in the interviews I've conducted with people, one of the things is people don't necessarily sometimes really understand themselves in the sense of what really are my values and how do I communicate, or how am I seen by people in the workplace, or how am I seen by employers. So one of the things that I have used in the past is using assessments to understand first what your communication style is like. What are your values? What are your motivators? What is your emotional intelligence? How do you interpret other people's feelings, or do you take them into consideration? And how are you in the sense of your emotionally? So I think that's one thing, and it is a great help in understanding yourself and what motivates you. Because then I think when you know what you like and what you dislike about in a job, it really gives you that help to know what to apply for. So I think that's something I've always said to my candidates is, where do you see yourself, or what are you passionate about? What do you like or what you dislike? And sometimes I go back to when you were a child. What was it that you wanted to be? So that was before we grew up and all the risk factors or financial and all that came into effect. So it's always going back to when you were a child. What did you want to do? What did you want to be? So I think it's important to maintain who you are, to represent who you are, and to represent it well. Gone are the days now of just the paper-based resume. We still use that as a form, but a lot of recruiters, over 90% of recruiters, do go on and search online on LinkedIn, which is first of all, LinkedIn, Facebook, Google. They're all the things that they will look for. So it's really important that you represent yourself really well online. Now, as an employer, when you're recruiting for people, What is your brand? Do you know what your brand is? What type of people are going to represent your brand and their personal brand? And is their personal branding going to complement you as an employer and your brand? So I think it's important that people's individual values are going to complement the company's values, because otherwise it's not going to be a successful outcome. And I think in the recruitment phrase, that is where you're looking at somebody's communication, their motivations, their emotional intelligence, to know that this person is going to work well within your team and they're going to represent you well. And that's where the person's own individual personal branding will then complement you as an employer brand. So I think when you sit down and no matter what you do, it's looking at yourself and what am I trying to say to people? Who am I? What career am I wanting? What do I want people from a consistency perspective to see me as? And I always go back to the song I used to love, Psy song Gangnam Style, and I always use that as an example in the style or the branding. Whenever I thought of that song, Gangnam Style, everyone knew exactly what the dance was. There was consistency, that you knew what he was offering. So that is where your branding, the consistency, no matter where you work, no matter where you go, that is who you are. They are your values. This is your brand. This is who you're representing. And then that is what companies want. You'll become much more successful in obtaining the job that you want. Now stay tuned in the next video and upcoming videos. We actually have Love My Brand, a personal branding program, which we are releasing in the near future. But stay tuned. So I hope that's given you a little bit of information about personal branding today. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.